Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in today because, honestly, I think we've all been sold a pretty dangerous lie. You know the drill, right? We're constantly pitched this traditional dream where you just grind away in some cubicle for 60 miserable hours a week, you finally hit that magical $1 million number, and then, well, you just stop. You walk out the door, plop down on a beach, and literally do absolutely nothing for the next 40 years. Sounds amazing, right? Actually, no. As we're going to see, treating that financial finish line as the ultimate goal without any real plan for day two is a massive, massive trap.
See, the traditional FIRE movement is absolutely fantastic at teaching us the math. We all know how to calculate our way out of a job we hate, but it completely fails to teach us what we should actually be running toward. It's like we're just running away from a burning building, but we have no idea where the safe house is. Escaping? That's really only half the battle. If you don't know where you're going next, you are setting yourself up for a seriously harsh reality check.
Which brings us to Section 1, the retirement cliff, hitting the ground hard after financial independence.
You know, you kind of expect this euphoric laser light show the second you hand in that resignation letter, but instead, it's often just deafening silence. The reality of finally hitting that magic number is actually incredibly underwhelming for a lot of early retirees. Suddenly, you've got 40 extra hours a week to fill. And if your entire life's mission up to this point was just accumulating a giant mountain of index funds, staring down a completely empty, purposeless schedule, it's going to make you absolutely miserable.
So, I want you to stop and ask yourself a really tough question right now. If your job title just completely disappeared tomorrow, would you even know who you are? We spend years, literally years, plotting this brilliant financial escape from the office. We're hyper-focused on the math, right? But we spend 0 minutes planning for the mental game. We completely ignore what we're actually going to do with our minds and our time on day 2. Moving on to Section 2, the identity crisis. Losing your built-in corporate validation. Think about it. Society basically trains us from childhood to tie our entire self-worth right to our job titles. You go to a cocktail party, you meet someone new, and what's the very first question they ask? Yep, so what do you do for a living? Now, if your answer is no longer VP of Marketing or Senior Systems Engineer, you're suddenly facing a massive internal identity crisis. Without that fancy corporate label, you usually just get these awkward stares, or that super sarcastic, "Oh, must be nice." It's a really jarring shift, not just in how the world perceives you, but way more importantly, in how you perceive yourself. What's crazy is that a lot of early retirees realize pretty quickly that they don't actually miss the toxic stress of the corporate grind. Not at all. What they desperately miss is the human connection. They miss that forced break room socialization, that simple, quiet feeling of daily accomplishment, or the satisfaction of mentoring the younger folks on the team. This psychological fear, this absolute terror of losing your identity and your community, is exactly why so many people get completely stuck in one more year syndrome. They hit their financial targets, but the void waiting for them outside the office doors is so intimidating, they just invent excuses to stay chained to their desks forever. And here is a very harsh truth. Hoarding your energy out of pure fear and eventually dying with, say, $40 million in the bank without ever actually living your life, well, that means you won the math equation, sure, but you completely lost the game of life. You just hoarded your time instead of actually spending it. So, we've got to fix this exit strategy. We need to make sure you don't end up trapped by your very own success. That brings us to Section 3, the fun job solution, actively engineering a new purpose. Okay, let's talk about this really cool concept, flamingo fire, or barista fire as some folks call it. The big secret here is that you don't actually have to stop working entirely. Flamingo Fire is a financial strategy where you basically hit a point where half of your retirement income is generated by your investments and the other half, that comes from part-time work or passion projects. It is literally the absolute perfect blend of semi-retirement and purposeful living. It gives you that daily structure you crave, but completely removes the suffocating pressure. I love this real-world example from our sources. Let's look at a guy named Jason. Jason spent 23 years grinding away in a super high-stress biotech career. But after he hit his FIRE number and finally bounced from the corporate world, he went out and took a minimum wage job pouring wine at a local tasting room, working exactly 1 day a week. He didn't do it for the paycheck, obviously. He did it strictly for the social connection. It gets him out of the house, gives him this great low-stakes purpose, and totally scratches that itch for human interaction. Plus, you know that cocktail party question we just talked about? Now when someone asks what he does, he just smiles and says, "I work at a winery." How great is that? It's just a beautifully simple, totally ego-free answer. So I've got a quick pop quiz for you. Would you rather hold tightly to your corporate ego, keep the fancy-sounding title, and work 60 absolutely miserable hours a week? Or, hear me out, Would you rather drop the ego, embrace true freedom, and pour wine at a gorgeous vineyard for 8 hours a week just to hang out with fun people? It's a no-brainer, right? Reclaiming your actual freedom almost always means you have to drop your ego at the door first.
All right, Section 4, Purpose without the pressure, operating entirely on your own terms.
Here is the real game changer. Because you are already financially independent, you hold literally all the power. Remember Jason at the winery? Since he was a super reliable guy, when he decided he wanted to go travel, he just asked his bosses for 4 entire weeks off. And guess what? They happily gave it to him. I mean, try asking your traditional corporate boss for a sudden 4-week vacation and see how fast you get laughed out of the room. And listen, your fun job doesn't even have to be a traditional W-2 gig. Look at Chris and Jenny from the TikTok Life blog. Jenny used to be a full-time pharmacist. Now, she works very part-time as a PRN pharmacist, just stepping in to cover maternity leaves whenever she actually feels like it. And Chris, he totally ditched the corporate grind and turned his tinkering hobby into a cool little mini business. He rescues and repairs old Apple devices, like iPads and iMacs. He cleans them up, keeps e-waste out of the landfill, and makes a little profit doing something he genuinely loves.
The absolutely crucial number to keep in your head right here is 50. In any given month, Chris and Jenny might clock a maximum combined total of maybe 20 to 50 hours of paid labor. That's it. But because they've already meticulously eliminated all their debt, that tiny little trickle of income easily covers any gaps. It gives them immense purpose, and, best of all, it leaves them with 90% of their time completely free to travel, explore, and just actually enjoy being alive.
Which leads us to Section 5, Redefining True Success, Rethinking Your Finish Line.
Look, at the end of the day, a massive investment portfolio is really nothing more than stored energy. It is completely, utterly useless if you never actually spend it to buy back your freedom and chase down your purpose. We have got to stop measuring our success by counting the commas in our bank accounts or flexing those impressive-sounding titles on LinkedIn. Actually, true success should really be measured by just 3 simple things: freedom, purpose, and relationships. Seriously, if your financial plan doesn't actively optimize for those 3 exact metrics, you need to go back and redraw the blueprint.
So to bring this all together for this explainer, a low-stakes, fun job is literally the ultimate bridge. It bridges the gap between that soul-crushing corporate grind you're running away from and the honestly terrifying void of doing absolutely nothing all day. It perfectly provides the socialization, the validation, and the gentle structure that you naturally crave as a human being. But the magic is, it does the whole shebang without any of that toxic stress you worked so incredibly hard to escape in the first place.
So, I'm going to leave you with a pretty provocative question today, just to really challenge how you're viewing your future. If money was completely removed from the equation tomorrow, like 100% taken care of, what is your weird post-fire fun job going to be? Seriously, what is it? Would you be a barista, a professional dog walker, maybe a museum tour guide? We need to stop just running away from the things we hate and start actively identifying our passion projects right now, today. So chew on that for a bit and let it guide your path forward. Thanks for joining us.